The voice cuts through the morning air like a blade scraping metal. "And who might you be, Miss Technician? Coffee girl for the real soldiers?" The laughter erupts instantly. 8 Navy SEALs, all broad shoulders and confidence, fill the narrow corridor outside the UAV control room. At their center stands Admiral Conrad Reese, silver eagles gleaming on his collar, arms crossed like he owns not just this base but the entire Pacific Fleet. The woman at the console doesn't flinch. She's smaller than any of them, hair pulled back in a regulation bun, wearing a plain uniform with no rank insignia. Her hands remain steady on the keyboard, fingers still hovering over keys that control a $15 million reconnaissance drone currently flying somewhere over contested waters. Reese steps closer. The scent of aftershave and arrogance fills the cramped space. Behind him, his team exchanges grins. This is entertainment before the morning brief. Fresh meat. Someone new to put in their place. "I asked you a question, miss." His voice drops lower, theatrical. "Rank. What's your rank?" She turns her head slowly. No rush, no panic. Her eyes are the color of winter ocean, and when they meet his, something flickers across Reese's face. Just for a heartbeat. Then it's gone, replaced by that familiar smirk. "Higher than yours, sir." Her voice is quiet, level, each word measured. "You just don't know it yet." The corridor goes silent. Someone coughs. A boot scuffs tile. The hum of the air conditioning suddenly seems deafening. Then Reese throws his head back and laughs. It's the kind of laugh that invites everyone else to join in, and they do. Nervous at first, then louder, eager to be part of the joke. "Cute." He leans against the doorframe, blocking her exit. "Real cute. Maybe I'll give you a uniform after you polish my boots." The woman returns to her screen. Her breathing follows a deliberate pattern. 4 counts in. Hold for 4. 4 counts out. Hold for 4. In the corner of the room, hunched over a maintenance log, Master Chief Roy Garrett watches this exchange from beneath heavy gray eyebrows. He's 62 years old, been in the Navy since before most of these kids were born, and he's seen enough to know when something doesn't add up. The way she holds that tablet, 3 fingers on the base, thumb and index supporting the edge. That's not how civilians grip equipment. That's not even how regular Navy handles gear. That's the hold they teach at advanced tactical schools. The kind where you learn to operate under fire, where dropping your equipment means mission failure, where muscle memory has to override panic. Garrett's pen stops moving. He doesn't look up, doesn't give anything away, but his jaw tightens. The woman saves her work with 3 quick keystrokes. No hesitation, no need to check the manual. The encryption protocols on these systems change monthly, require authentication codes that take most operators 5 minutes to input correctly. She does it in under 10 seconds. "You know what I think?" Reese pushes off the door frame, steps fully into the control room. His team follows, filling the space with testosterone and cologne. "I think someone made a mistake letting you in here. This is a secure facility, SEAL operations only." She stands. The movement is economical, balanced. When her hands fold behind her back, they settle into a position that's exactly regulation. Not approximately, not close enough. Exactly. At ease, the way it's drilled into you until your body remembers it decades later. "I'll make this simple." Reese is enjoying himself now, playing to his audience. "You've got about 30 seconds to explain what a tech support girl is doing with access to my UAV systems before I call security and have you escorted out." 28 seconds, Lieutenant Hayes adds helpfully. He's young, ambitious, the kind who laughs loudest at his commanding officer's jokes. She reaches into her chest pocket. The movement makes Reese's hand drift toward his sidearm. Instinct. But she's only pulling out a laminated card. Standard issue. The kind every contractor and civilian employee carries on base. "Technical consultant," she says, handing it to him. "Cleared for all non-combat systems." Reese examines the card like it might be counterfeit, holds it up to the light, checks the holographic seal. Everything's in order. It has to be. She wouldn't be here otherwise. But something about this doesn't sit right with him, and men like Reese don't like things that don't sit right. "Well, Miss Consultant," he flicks the card back at her. It hits her chest and falls. She doesn't move to catch it. "I don't care what this says. You stay in your lane. That means you don't touch tactical systems. You don't access classified files. You fix computers when we tell you they're broken, and you stay out of the way when real operators are working." "Understood, sir." She bends to retrieve her ID. As she straightens, her sleeve rides up just enough to expose the inside of her left forearm. There's a scar there. Not the clean line of surgery. Something jagged, irregular. The kind that comes from shrapnel, from being too close when something explodes. Chief Warrant Officer Klein sees it. His eyes narrow. He's been deployed enough times to recognize blast patterns on human skin. But Reese is already moving, already dismissing her from his mind. He's got a briefing in 15 minutes, a training exercise to oversee, a whole base of people who snap to attention when he walks past. Why waste time on some contractor who probably got her job through connections rather than capability? Lieutenant Hayes, Reese pauses at the door. Make sure our friend here gets the message. This control room is off limits unless she's specifically requested, and that needs to come through my office first. Yes, sir. Hayes grins at the woman. Don't worry, miss. We'll find you something more suitable. Maybe the commissary needs help, or there's always laundry. More laughter. They file out, voices fading down the corridor. Someone mentions breakfast. Someone else has a joke about contractors. The door swings shut. The control room returns to its baseline hum. Servers processing data, cooling fans pushing air. Outside, through reinforced windows, the Hawaiian sun climbs higher over runways and hangars and the distant blue immensity of the Pacific. Garrett hasn't moved from his corner. He's still holding his pen, still pretending to review maintenance logs, but his eyes track the woman as she returns to her station, settles back into her chair, pulls up the same diagnostic screen she was running before the interruption. Her hands return to the keyboard. That grip again. That specific, unmistakable hold. Been at it long? His voice is rough from decades of shouting over engine noise and gunfire. She doesn't startle, doesn't even pause in her typing. Long enough, Master Chief. She knows his rank without looking at his uniform. Interesting. Those encryption protocols. He taps his pen against the logbook. Most folks need the manual. Take them 10-15 minutes to authenticate properly. I've worked with similar systems before. Similar. Garrett nods slowly. That's one word for it. She finally looks at him. Really looks. And there's a calculation happening behind those eyes. An assessment of risk and necessity and how much this particular conversation might cost her. Is there something I can help you with, Master Chief? Just curious. He closes his logbook, stands with the careful movements of a man whose knees remember too many parachute landings. Been in this Navy 43 years, seen a lot of people come through, seen a lot of specialists with clearances they shouldn't have, technical consultants who know things they shouldn't know. He walks toward the door, pauses. Seen operators too, the real kind, the ones who don't advertise. She returns to her screen without responding. Garrett opens the door, then stops. That breathing pattern, he says quietly. 4x4. That's combat stress management. They teach it at Fort Bragg, at Coronado, at places most people have never heard of. He doesn't wait for confirmation. You have a good day, miss. The door clicks shut behind him. The woman's fingers remain steady on the keyboard, but her jaw tightens, just slightly, just enough. On her wrist, barely visible beneath her sleeve, a watch face displays the time in 24-hour format. But there's something else there too, a small button on the side, recessed, easy to miss unless you know to look for it, the kind of button that doesn't come standard on any commercial timepiece. She glances at it. Not yet, not nearly yet. Outside, Reese is already at the dining facility, holding court at a table of junior officers. The story is getting better with each retelling. So I walk in, and there's this girl pretending to run diagnostics on a Reaper feed. He spreads his hands, incredulous. I mean, she couldn't have been more than 5'6". Looked like she should be teaching kindergarten, not touching military hardware. The table erupts in appropriate laughter. What did you do, sir? Hayes leans forward, eager. What could I do? Explain the facts of life. Told her to stay in her lane. Reese spears a piece of cantaloupe. Probably won't last a week. These contractors never do. They get one taste of how we actually operate and they're gone. Back to their safe little civilian jobs where the biggest threat is a paper cut. Commander Brooks, head of base security, frowns into his coffee. He's older than most of the officers here, seen enough cycles of hotshot leaders to recognize the pattern. Confidence is good, necessary even. But there's a line between confidence and carelessness, and Reese has a habit of crossing it. This consultant have proper clearance? Brooks asks. Oh, everything was in order. Reese waves a dismissive hand. ID checked out, paperwork probably perfect, you know how it works. Someone in procurement gets a kickback, suddenly we've got civilians running around like they own the place. Still, Brooks sets down his cup. Might be worth having my people verify. Access to UAV controls isn't something we hand out casually. Be my guest, Reese grins. You'll find everything's technically legal, which is exactly the problem. Too many lawyers, not enough warriors. The conversation shifts to the upcoming training exercise. A joint operation with Army Rangers, simulated coastal insertion, 3 days of proving once again that SEALs are the apex predators of modern warfare. Reese is in his element, describing tactical approaches, assigning roles, making it clear that failure isn't an option. Can she really be just a technician? Hit that like button if something feels off here, and tap that thanks button to support more stories where truth cuts through arrogance like a knife through water. Nobody notices when Brooks slips away early, phone already to his ear, requesting a deep background check on their newest contractor. Back in the control room, the woman works through her diagnostics with methodical precision. Surface level, everything looks routine. File access logs, system performance metrics, standard maintenance protocols that any competent technician would run. But buried in that routine, hidden in the gaps between official tasks, she's doing something else entirely. Cross-referencing access patterns, tracking data flows, building a map of who touches what information and when, looking for anomalies, discrepancies. The tiny cracks in operational security that suggest someone is operating outside normal parameters. 3 months ago, her orders were simple. Infiltrate this base, maintain a low profile, identify the leak. Someone at this facility has been selling classified tactical data to private military contractors. Not just selling it, packaging it beautifully. Timed releases that maximize damage while minimizing traceability. Whoever's running this operation understands military information architecture at an expert level, which means it's someone senior, someone with access, someone who knows exactly how to cover their tracks. The obvious suspect would be Reese. He's got the clearance, the opportunity, and certainly the ego to believe he's untouchable. But obvious doesn't mean correct. 3 months of watching has taught her that this base runs on a complex web of relationships and rivalries. 6 people could be responsible, maybe more. So she stays quiet, stays small, lets them think she's exactly what she appears to be. Just another contractor filling a technical role. Forgettable, dismissible, beneath notice, until she has enough evidence to burn the whole operation down. Her screen flickers, an alert. Someone's trying to access a file she's been monitoring. Equipment requisition logs for a training mission that happened 6 weeks ago. Nothing sensitive. Except that same file was accessed twice in the past month by users who had no legitimate reason to view it. She lets the access complete, doesn't block it, doesn't flag it. Just watches, records, adds it to the pattern she's building. The door opens. Lieutenant Hayes enters, trying for casual confidence but landing somewhere near aggressive swagger. Hey, miss? He doesn't know her name, hasn't bothered to learn it. Admiral's orders? You're not authorized for this terminal during operational hours. Gonna need you to log off. I'm running system diagnostics. She doesn't look up from her screen. Should be finished in about 20 minutes. Yeah, well, operational hours started at 0600. So, he makes a shooing gesture. Gonna need that to happen now. She saves her work, logs out, gathers her tablet and the small bag of tools that every technician carries. Hayes watches her with barely concealed satisfaction. Small victory. Putting a civilian in their place. Wait until he tells the guys at lunch. You know what the problem is? Hayes leans against her now vacated console. You civilians don't understand hierarchy. Don't understand what it means to earn your place in an organization like this. We spend years training, bleeding, proving ourselves. Then someone like you shows up with a piece of paper and thinks that gives you the same access, the same respect. She pauses at the door. You're right, Lieutenant. I don't understand that at all. The response confuses him. He was expecting defensiveness, maybe some civilian appeal to rules and regulations. This calm agreement throws off his rhythm. Just stay out of our way, he finishes lamely. She leaves without responding. Hayes pulls out his phone, pulls up the unofficial group channel that most of the junior SEALs use, the one that's technically against regulations but everyone knows about and nobody stops. Guys, you're not going to believe what just happened. Admiral totally shut down that contractor girl. Thing is, she's got this attitude like she thinks she's somebody. "You should see her," walks around like she owns the place. The responses come fast. Jokes, memes. Someone suggests they start a betting pool on how long she lasts. Someone else proposes making her the unofficial coffee runner. Harmless hazing, the kind every outsider goes through. She'll learn to laugh along or she'll leave. Either way, problem solved. The messages continue through the morning, spreading the story, embellishing details, creating a narrative where she becomes less person and more punchline. By lunch, half the base has heard about the contractor who tried to claim she outranked an admiral. The story's better than the truth. Funnier. More shareable. The woman who started it all sits alone in a corner of the enlisted dining facility, eating a sandwich that tastes like cardboard and institutional efficiency. Around her, conversations ebb and flow. Deployment stories, complaints about training schedules, speculation about upcoming assignments. She listens, files it away, patterns within patterns. Who defers to whom? Which groups form natural alliances? Where the real power flows underneath the official hierarchy. Chief Warrant Officer Klein enters with his maintenance team, spots her, whispers something to the men beside him. They look, laugh, keep walking. The bread turns to paste in her mouth, but she keeps eating, keeps breathing in that steady 4-count rhythm, in through the nose, hold, out through the mouth, hold, the way they taught her during Hell Week, during Siri training, during the classified exercises where they break you down to see what remains when everything else is stripped away. Her watch displays the time, 13:37. She has a meeting scheduled for 1400. Routine check-in with the base IT director. Officially, it's about software updates and network security. Unofficially, it's a dead drop. A chance to pass information up the chain without electronic trails. She finishes her sandwich, clears her tray, walks across the base under the brutal Pacific sun. The heat here is different than desert heat, humid, oppressive. It soaks into your uniform and makes everything stick. The IT building is older construction, built back when the Navy thought concrete bunkers were the solution to everything. Inside, the air conditioning fights a losing battle against decades of inadequate ventilation. The director's office is on the second floor behind a door with a nameplate that reads CDR James Walsh Information Systems. She knocks. Come in. Walsh is 45 and looks 60. Too many years staring at screens, hunting for vulnerabilities, patching systems that were outdated when he inherited them. He's competent, dedicated, and completely unaware that the woman entering his office represents a classification level he's never been briefed on. Ah, good, right on time. He gestures to a chair stacked with technical manuals. Just move those. So, we need to talk about the firewall updates. The new protocols from Cyber Command are a nightmare to implement with our current architecture. She moves the manuals, sits, pulls out her tablet. For 10 minutes, they have a legitimate conversation about network security, patch schedules, vendor compatibility, the kind of tedious technical discussion that makes most people's eyes glaze over. Then Walsh leans back, rubs his eyes. I'm going to grab coffee. You want anything? I'm fine, thank you. He leaves. The door clicks shut. She has approximately 6 minutes. Walsh is predictable. Creature of habit. The break room is 2 floors down. He'll take the stairs because he's trying to get his steps in. Black coffee, 2 sugars. Exactly 6 minutes. She's timed it 3 times. She moves to his computer. It's logged in. Careless, but typical. She navigates to a specific shared folder buried 3 layers deep in the directory structure. Creates a new file, encrypted, disguised as a system log, dumps the data she's collected, access patterns, file timestamps, user IDs that don't quite match official rosters, upload complete, delete local copies, clear recent file history, return to her chair. 5 minutes, 40 seconds. Walsh returns at 6 minutes, 15 seconds. Close enough. He's carrying 2 cups. Change my mind, he says, handing her one. Figured you could probably use it. She accepts, sips. It's terrible coffee. Government contract stuff that tastes like it was brewed through old boots. She drinks it anyway. So about those vendor compatibility issues. They finish their meeting. She leaves with a stack of documentation about firewall protocols that she'll never read and he'll never follow up on. The coffee cup goes in the trash outside. The real message is already racing up the chain of command, bouncing through encrypted servers, landing eventually on a desk at Fort Meade where someone with more stars than Walsh will ever see decides whether her intel justifies further action. The afternoon brings new indignities. Brooks's security team pulls her aside for additional ID verification. Perfectly legal, perfectly within regulations, also perfectly obvious harassment. She stands patiently while they photograph her credentials, Run her fingerprints through databases she already knows she'll pass. Ask questions they already know the answers to. How long have you been on base? 3 months. And your previous posting? I'm a contractor, I don't have postings. Right. Previous contract then. Classified. That makes them exchange looks. Civilians claiming classification is always suspicious. Usually it means they're lying. Sometimes it means they're telling the truth, and it's above your clearance to verify. We'll need to confirm that. Contact the number on my clearance documentation. They will. They'll reach a very real office at a very real agency that will confirm she's exactly who she claims to be. The paperwork is immaculate. It has to be. People died to make this cover solid. By 1600, she's back at her temporary quarters. A small room in the contractor housing unit. Concrete walls, metal frame bed, a desk and chair that were probably surplus from a Cold War-era submarine. She doesn't care. She's slept in worse. Done entire deployments in conditions that would break most civilians mentally before it ever touched them physically. She sits on the bed, allows herself 60 seconds of complete stillness. No 4-count breathing, no maintained composure, just 60 seconds where she doesn't have to be the role. Then it's over. Back to work. Her tablet contains encrypted files that would cause a diplomatic incident if discovered. Training schedules, personnel rosters, supply chain logistics. Everything you'd need to plan an operation against this facility. Everything someone selling secrets would want to acquire. She's not here to protect those secrets. She's here to find who's already stealing them. The pieces are starting to fit. Reese's aggressive need to control access. Hayes's nervousness around anyone who might see things they shouldn't. Klein's technical knowledge that goes deeper than his official role requires. Brooks's security checks that seem designed more to intimidate than investigate. Any one of them could be the leak. All of them could be involved. The only way to know for certain is to wait for them to make a mistake. To push hard enough that they reveal themselves trying to push back. Which means tomorrow needs to escalate. She needs to be in places she's not supposed to be. Accessing systems that will trigger alerts. Making enough noise that whoever's watching feels threatened enough to act. Outside her window, the sun sets over the Pacific in streaks of orange and purple. Somewhere out there, submarines patrol in silence. Carrier groups project power. Young men and women put themselves between civilization and chaos because someone has to and they're willing. Most of them are good, dedicated, honorable, but not all. Never all. She sets an alarm for 0430, early enough to be on base before most people arrive. Early enough to be in the control room when the overnight shift logs off and the day shift isn't quite ready. Early enough to see what happens when she stops being careful. Sleep comes easily. Years of training taught her to rest when possible because you never know when the next chance will come. 4 hours later, the alarm pulls her back to consciousness with the gentle insistence of a knife at the throat. She dresses in the dark, same plain uniform, same anonymous contractor appearance. Runs through a mental checklist that's become automatic. ID card, tablet, tools, the watch with its hidden button that she still hasn't pressed. Not yet. The base at 0500 is a different world. Skeleton crew, night maintenance, a few insomniacs and early risers. She moves through the dim corridors like water finding the path of least resistance. The control room is locked, but her access card works. Inside, the overnight operator is half asleep, monitoring automated systems that haven't required human intervention in hours. "Morning," she says quietly. He startles. Morning. He's young, probably his first posting, still nervous around anyone who appears unexpectedly. "You're early." Diagnostics run better with light system traffic. "Right, yeah, makes sense." He's already packing up, eager to hand off responsibility and get to breakfast. Everything's green, feeds are nominal, had one hiccup on the satellite uplink around 0300, but it auto-corrected. "I'll check the logs." Cool, I'm out then." He leaves. She's alone. The control room hums its familiar song. She moves to the main console, pulls up system access logs, not the surface-level stuff. The deep architecture, user authentication records, file transfer protocols, the digital fingerprints that people think are invisible but never truly are. There. An access spike at 0300, right when the uplink hiccuped. Someone logged in remotely, pulled data. Not much, a few kilobytes. Probably looked like routine telemetry to anyone glancing at the logs. Except the access came from an IP that traces back to the Admiral's office. At 0300 in the morning, when the building is locked and alarmed and supposedly empty. She photographs the screen with her tablet, encrypted storage, chain of custody, evidence that will hold up when this eventually reaches courts-martial proceedings. What are you doing? She doesn't jump, doesn't close the screen, just turns calmly. Klein stands in the doorway, maintenance bag over his shoulder, suspicion written across his face like accusation. System diagnostics, she says. Someone's been accessing files outside normal parameters. You're not authorized for security reviews. I'm not conducting a security review. I'm checking system integrity. Looks like a security review to me. He steps closer, peers at her screen. His expression shifts. He recognizes what he's seeing. Understands the implications. For a moment, neither speaks. The air conditioning whispers. A server fan clicks into higher speed. You need to log off, Klein says finally. Now. In a moment. No. Now. His hand moves toward the radio on his belt. Or I'm calling this in. She saves her work. Logs off. Stands. Chief Klein, if someone on this base is compromising classified systems, wouldn't you want to know? What I want is for contractors to stay in their lane. What I want is to not have to explain to my commanding officer why some civilian is digging through access logs at 0500 in the morning. Fair enough. She moves toward the door. He blocks her path. Not aggressively, just there. A wall of uncertainty trying to decide if she's a problem that needs escalating. Who are you really? He asks quietly. Exactly who my ID says I am. Your ID says you're a technical consultant, but technical consultants don't run security audits, don't know how to read authentication protocols at this level. He's not stupid, probably never was, just playing his part in a system he trusts. I've been doing this job for 12 years. I know what normal looks like. You're not it. Maybe that's because normal is broken. Or maybe you're a plant. Industrial espionage. Happens more than people think. Contractors get hired by competitors, by foreign intelligence, by people who want exactly what you're looking for. His hand tightens on his radio. I should have you arrested right now. You should, but you won't. Why not? Because some part of you knows something's wrong here. You've felt it. Small things that don't add up. Access patterns that seem off. Orders that don't quite make sense. She holds his gaze. You're good at your job, Chief. Good enough to notice the discrepancies, not quite senior enough to do anything about them. His jaw works. Get out. She leaves. Behind her, Klein stands in the control room, radio in hand, trying to decide which is more dangerous, trusting a stranger or ignoring his instincts. By 0600, the base wakes fully. Morning PT. Breakfast rushes. The organized chaos of a military installation starting its day. She's at the enlisted dining facility when Reese enters with his usual entourage. He spots her immediately. Something about the recognition feels deliberate, like he's been looking for her. Well, well. He changes course, approaches her table. Didn't expect to see you still around. She looks up from her oatmeal. Still around, sir? I heard you were in the control room early. 0500, before authorized access hours. Running diagnostics, as requested. Funny. I don't remember requesting diagnostics at 0500. He sits down across from her without invitation. His team hovers nearby, watching. What I remember is specifically telling you to stay away from tactical systems. The systems I was reviewing weren't tactical. They were administrative access logs, which you have exactly 0 authorization to review. Is she about to get thrown off the base? Drop a comment. Do you think she's legit, or is Reese right to be suspicious? If there's a security concern, I'm required to report it. Security concern? Reese laughs. It's the kind of laugh designed to humiliate, loud enough for nearby tables to hear. Let me tell you about security concerns, sweetheart. My security concern is unauthorized personnel accessing sensitive systems and then hiding behind bureaucratic excuses when they get caught. I'm not hiding. No. You're just sitting here eating oatmeal like you didn't just violate about 6 different protocols. He leans forward. Here's what's going to happen. You're going to finish your breakfast. Then you're going to pack your things. Then you're going to be escorted off this base. And if you're very lucky, we won't press charges for the attempted data breach. I haven't breached any data. Chief Klein says otherwise. So Klein called it in. Disappointing, but not surprising. Then Chief Klein should present his evidence through proper channels. Proper channels. Reese's face darkens. You think you can lawyer your way out of this? You think citing regulations means anything when you've been caught red-handed? She meets his eyes, holds them, lets the silence stretch until it becomes uncomfortable. With all due respect, Admiral, if you're going to make accusations, you should probably have your facts straight first. My facts are straight. You were in a restricted system, at an unauthorized time. Looking at files you have no clearance to access. System access logs aren't classified. They're administrative records. Any user with basic clearance can view them. Not at 0500 they can't. The time of day doesn't change the classification level. Reese's hands flatten on the table. You're done. I'm calling security. You'll be detained pending investigation. He pulls out his radio, keys it. Base security. This is Admiral Reese. I need a detention team at the enlisted DFAC immediately. We have a contractor in violation of security protocols. The response crackles back. Copy that, Admiral. Team en route. She doesn't run, doesn't argue, just sits there, breathing in that steady 4-count rhythm, watching him with those winter ocean eyes. Within 3 minutes, 4 MPs arrive. Body armor, sidearms, the full intimidation package. Sir, the senior MP salutes Reese. This contractor has been accessing classified systems without authorization. I want her detained and investigated. Yes, sir. The MP turns to her. Ma'am, I'm going to need you to stand up slowly and keep your hands visible. She complies, sets down her spoon, pushes back from the table, stands with her hands at her sides, relaxed, non-threatening. The dining facility has gone quiet, everyone watching. This is the story that'll be told all day. The contractor who thought she was something special, getting exactly what she deserved. Hands behind your back, please. She complies again, feels the zip ties go on, not tight enough to cut circulation, but secure enough to prevent any sudden movements. Do you have any weapons or contraband on your person? No. We're going to search you anyway. Of course. They're professional about it. Quick pat down, check her pockets, confiscate her tablet, her ID, her phone. The watch stays on. Nobody thinks to check it. Why would they? It's just a watch. Where are we taking her, sir? The MP asks Reese. Holding facility. Cell 3. I want her isolated until we can get a full investigative team together. Cell 3 is for criminal detainees, sir. Did I stutter? No, sir. They escort her out, through the dining facility, across the courtyard, past morning formations and curious stares. Someone takes a photo, probably already posting it to social media, probably already viral in certain circles. The holding facility is a low concrete building near the base perimeter, designed for temporarily detaining personnel awaiting transport to more permanent facilities. It has 6 cells, a processing area, and the distinct smell of disinfectant failing to cover older, less pleasant odors. Cell 3 is 8 by 10 feet. Concrete walls, metal bench, toilet without a lid. Toilet. A small window near the ceiling that lets in light but shows only sky. They cut the zip ties, lock the door, leave her alone. She sits on the bench, closes her eyes, lets her head rest against the wall. This is the near-fail moment. The point where anyone watching from the outside would think she's finished. Caught. Game over. Except games have rules. And she's about to show them they've been playing the wrong game entirely. Her watch displays 14:37. In 23 minutes, someone very important is going to notice she missed a scheduled check-in. In 63 minutes, protocols she set in motion 3 months ago will activate automatically. In approximately 2 hours, Admiral Reese is going to learn the difference between authority and power. She controls her breathing. 4 in, hold 4, 4 out, hold 4. Somewhere above her, through the small window, a jet screams across the sky. Routine training flight. Young pilots learning to push machines to their limits, trusting that the Navy that trained them has their backs. Most of the time, it does, but not always. Not when the corruption comes from the top. Not when the people meant to protect the system are the ones feeding on it. The door opens. Commander Brooks enters, carrying a file folder. He looks uncomfortable. I need to ask you some questions. Am I being charged with something? That depends on your answers. He sits on the opposite end of the bench. What were you doing in the control room at 0500? System diagnostics. Why at 0500? Light traffic, better performance data. You accessed user authentication logs. That's part of system diagnostics, not according to Chief Klein. Chief Klein is mistaken about the scope of my authorization. Brooks opens the folder. Inside are printouts of her access records. Everything she touched, everything she reviewed. It looks damning, designed to look damning. These logs show you specifically targeting files related to Admiral Reese's office. The logs show I reviewed anomalous access patterns. Those patterns happen to originate from that office. And you didn't think to report this through proper channels? I was gathering data to determine if there was anything worth reporting. That's not your job. Actually, it is. She holds his gaze. My contract specifically requires me to report security vulnerabilities. Accessing an admiral's files isn't reporting vulnerabilities, it's espionage. I didn't access his files. I reviewed access logs showing someone using his credentials to access classified data at 0300 in the morning. That makes Brooks pause. Explain. Someone logged in remotely using Admiral Reese's authentication, pulled data, then logged out. The access came from an IP address registered to his office during hours when the building was supposedly empty and secure. You're saying someone hacked his account? I'm saying someone used his credentials. Whether it was him or someone else, I can't determine from access logs alone. Brooks stares at the printouts. This is more complicated than he wanted. Simple cases of contractor overreach are easy. This is something else. I'll need to verify this. Of course. He stands, looks at her for a long moment. Who are you really? Still just a technical consultant, Commander. Right. He doesn't believe her. But he's also not stupid enough to ignore potential security breaches just because they come from an inconvenient source. Stay here. Not planning on going anywhere. The door locks again. She's alone. 15:30. In 7 minutes, the missed check-in becomes a priority flag. In 67 minutes, the automatic protocols activate. The watch sits on her wrist, small, unassuming, with its hidden button still unpressed. She closes her eyes again, waits, breathes. Outside, the base continues its routines, training, operations, the daily machinery of military readiness grinding forward. Inside this cell, a woman who isn't what she seems counts down minutes until everything changes. The button on her watch feels heavier than it should. 0.3 ounces of pressure-sensitive material. She's carried it for 3 months without touching it. Protocol says don't activate unless absolutely necessary. Protocol also says trust your instincts when the mission parameters shift. 1600 hours arrives with the precision of mathematics. Somewhere in Fort Meade, an encrypted system registers her missed check-in. Somewhere in the Pentagon, an alert reaches a desk that monitors operations most generals don't know exist. The door to Cell 3 opens. Hayes stands there with 2 MPs, all of them looking stressed. You, come with us. She stands. Am I being charged? The Admiral wants to talk to you. Now. They don't bother with restraints this time. Just escort her quickly through corridors painted in emergency red light. Personnel press against walls to let them pass. Everyone's trying to figure out what's happening, whether it's a drill, whether it's real. The control room is crowded when they arrive. Reese, Brooks, Klein, half a dozen other officers, all of them staring at screens showing system diagnostics running wild. Reese turns when she enters. His face is controlled fury. What did you do? Before she can answer, one of the MPs grabs her arm, hard, trying to position her away from the consoles. His grip catches the edge of her sleeve, pulls it upward with enough force that fabric tears slightly. The sleeve rides up her left forearm, exposes skin. And something else. Ink. Black and gray. A design that's instantly recognizable to anyone who's spent time in special operations. A trident crossed with lightning bolts. Beneath it, numbers, not random. A unit designation. Task force numbers that don't appear in any public database. The room goes silent. Not the shocked silence from before, something deeper, heavier. Master Chief Garrett sees it first. His eyes widen. His hand moves to his chest, unconscious gesture, like he's reaching for dog tags he no longer wears on the outside. Holy hell. His voice is barely a whisper. That's a JSOC operator mark, task force insignia. I've only seen that twice in 43 years. Klein leans forward, squinting. What does it mean? It means she's not a contractor. Garrett's voice is steady now, certain. That ink is only authorized for personnel assigned to Joint Special Operations Command, Tier 1 level, the kind of operators who don't exist on paper. Brooks steps closer, staring at the tattoo like it might be fake, but the scar tissue around it tells a different story. Old ink, years old, integrated into skin that's seen combat, not something you get in a weekend. Reese's face cycles through confusion, denial, calculation. That proves nothing. Anyone can get a tattoo. Doesn't make them special operations. Anyone can get ink, sir. Garrett doesn't take his eyes off the design. But that specific pattern, those numbers, that's not something you walk into a tattoo parlor and request. That's earned, authorized, recorded in classified personnel files. She pulls her sleeve back down, calm, unhurried. Like exposing classified insignia in front of a dozen witnesses is exactly what she meant to do. You wanted proof, Admiral. There it is. That's not proof. That's a tattoo. Could be fake. Could be stolen design. Then verify it. She reaches slowly into her chest pocket. Every eye tracks the movement. She pulls out a card, not the contractor ID they've seen before. Something else. Red border, holographic seal that shifts in the light, serial number embossed across the top. Pentagon Access Authorization, Joint Special Operations Command. The serial number on this card matches the unit designation in that tattoo. Cross-reference them. Your own security system will confirm. Klein takes the card with shaking hands, slides it through the reader. The system processes. Takes longer than a standard ID, running deeper verification. Checking databases most people don't know exist. The screen flashes green. Then displays information that makes everyone in the room go completely still. Commander E. Ward JSOC Special Access Program, Sovereign Ghost. Active status. Clearance. TSSCI plus SAP unit, Task Force, redacted. A second window opens automatically. Shows a photograph from personnel files. Same woman, younger, wearing combat fatigues and a patch that matches the tattoo on her arm. Standing next to two generals whose names are redacted but whose faces are recognizable to anyone who follows defense news. A third window, service record, heavily redacted, but enough visible to tell the story. 12 years active duty, multiple deployments, commendations that are listed only by classification code, a Purple Heart, a Bronze Star, medals that mean combat, real combat, and at the bottom, a death certificate. Dated 2 years ago, Syria. Listed as killed in action during a convoy attack. Brooks's voice is hollow. You're supposed to be dead. I was. Officially. She doesn't elaborate. Doesn't need to. The implications hang in the air. Klein pulls up another screen. Sir, this clearance level outranks everyone on this base, including you. It requires Pentagon-level authorization just to view the full file. Reese stares at the screens. His hands grip the edge of the console, knuckles white. This is impossible. JSOC doesn't run operations on domestic bases without notification. There are protocols, procedures. There are. She meets his eyes. And one of those protocols allows for classified investigations when corruption reaches command level. When normal oversight channels can't be trusted. When operators are dying because someone is selling intelligence. The main screen updates. The system audit that's been running in the background completes its analysis. Data cascades across multiple windows, file access logs, transfer records, authentication timestamps, all of it color-coded. Green for normal, yellow for questionable, red for violations. There's a lot of red. And most of it traces back to one set of credentials. That's fabricated. Reese's voice has lost its certainty. Someone planted that data. The authentication includes biometric verification, sir. Klein's voice is mechanical, like he's delivering a diagnosis he doesn't want to believe. Fingerprint, retinal scan, time-stamped access from your personal terminal. These aren't simple password hacks. A new window opens, shows real-time correlation analysis. Every file Reese accessed cross-referenced against intelligence reports of compromised operations. Each match highlighted, time-stamped, documented. The correlation percentage climbs. 70%, 80, 93. Sir, Klein sounds like he's going to be sick. This shows that every time you accessed specific tactical files, operations failed within 72 hours. The pattern is statistically impossible to explain as coincidence. Brooks has his hand near his sidearm now. Not drawing, just ready. Admiral, I need you to step away from the console. This is insane. But Reese is backing away. Cornered. Desperate. You're all believing fabricated evidence over 12 years of service. 30 years of service. Ward's voice cuts through. You had 30 years, built a career, earned respect, then threw it away selling intelligence to private contractors, getting operators killed. For what? Money? Project Nexus, Nexus Strategic Solutions. You've been transferring classified data to them for 8 months. The financial records show payments matching the transfer timeline. Every time you pulled files, money appeared in accounts you thought were untraceable. Another window opens. Bank statements, wire transfers, shell companies, all of it documented, all of it damning. Outside, the sound of rotors grows louder. Multiple aircraft approaching fast. Everyone moves to the windows. 4 Black Hawk helicopters descending toward the base helipad. Not standard transport, command birds. The kind reserved for flag officers and emergency deployments. Reese's face goes pale. Who did you call? I didn't call anyone. The protocol did, automatically, when I missed my 1600 check-in. She watches the helicopters settle. Standard procedure for deep cover operations. Missed check-in triggers immediate response. Ensures the asset is secure and evidence is preserved. The helicopters touch down. Doors open. 4 figures emerge. Even at this distance, the stars on their uniforms catch the light. Generals, moving with the kind of purpose that suggests this isn't a social visit. Reese turns back to Ward. Something in his expression shifts. Desperation replacing everything else. We have 45 minutes before the lockdown backup power fails. You want to do this right? Fine. But we need to secure the evidence before the system goes dark. Convenient timeline, Admiral. It's the truth. Check the power logs. Backup generators weren't designed for extended lockdowns. We've got 45 minutes, maybe less. Ward looks at Klein. Confirm. Klein pulls up the power management system. He's right. Backup power at 63%. Current drain rate gives us approximately 42 minutes before non-essential systems start shutting down. That includes the audit protocol. Then we finish this now. Ward turns to Hayes. The lieutenant who spent 3 months making her life difficult, who spread rumors, who laughed at every joke at her expense. Lieutenant Hayes, you need to do something for me. Hayes straightens, confused, wary. Ma'am, you spent 3 months telling people I didn't belong here, that I was incompetent, that I was a waste of space. Her voice is level. No accusation, just statement of fact. Now I need you to prove yourself wrong. Pull the detailed access logs. Every file touch. Every transfer, every authentication. Show everyone in this room who really betrayed this base. The request lands like a physical blow. Hayes' face cycles through shame, resistance, calculation. Why me? Because you're good at your job. Because despite everything you follow protocols. Because you need to see the truth yourself. And because when this is over, when people ask what happened here, I want them to know that the people who doubted me were the ones who helped expose the real threat. Hayes looks at Reese, at Brooks, at the screens showing evidence he doesn't want to believe, then back at Ward. Yes, ma'am. He moves to a terminal. Fingers fly across the keyboard, pulling logs, cross-referencing, building the timeline that's been hiding in plain sight for 8 months. The room watches in silence. 41 minutes remaining. Got something. Hayes' voice is tight. Access pattern from Admiral Reese's credentials. But there's a secondary pattern. Another user with elevated privileges accessing the same files within hours, different credentials, general-level clearance. Who? Brooks demands. Hayes pulls up the authentication record, goes pale. General Corbin. He accessed every file the Admiral touched, sometimes before, sometimes after, like they were coordinating. Ward's expression doesn't change, but her jaw tightens. General Corbin was one of the officers who authorized this operation, who suggested using a deceased operator for deep cover, who specifically recommended me. The implications spread through the room like poison. He knew. Garrett's voice is rough. He knew you'd be investigating, knew you'd be looking at Reese, thought he could control the investigation from the inside. More than that, Hayes is still pulling logs. General Corbin accessed the intelligence briefing that sent Commander Ward's convoy into that kill zone in Syria. 2 hours before the operation, he modified the route, changed the threat assessment, made it look like updated intelligence. The control room goes silent except for the hum of electronics and cooling fans. Ward closes her eyes for one beat, opens them. He tried to kill me. When that failed, he tried to use me. Put me in position to catch Reese while he stayed protected. We need to inform the arriving command. Brooks reaches for his radio. Wait. Ward holds up a hand. Let them come to us. Corbin doesn't know we've made the connection yet. If we tip our hand too early, he disappears into layers of classified protection. 38 minutes remaining. The control room door opens. 4 generals enter. They're not wearing combat gear. Service dress, immaculate, professional. The kind of appearance that says this is official business at the highest level. The lead general is a woman, 3 stars. Silver hair pulled back tight, eyes like flint. She surveys the room with an expression that's seen every variation of corruption. Behind her, 3 more flag officers, 2 men and a woman, all wearing stars and combat ribbons and the weight of command. Master Chief Garrett sees them and goes rigid. He recognizes one, served under him 20 years ago. Before the stars, back when they were both operators. The female general's gaze sweeps the room, stops on Ward. The entire room holds its breath. This is the moment, the reveal everyone's been waiting for without knowing they were waiting. Every SEAL in the room watches. Brooks, Hayes, Klein, the MPs. Even Reese, trapped between hope and dread. The air itself seems to hold its breath. Decades of military protocol, of rigid hierarchy, of knowing exactly where everyone stands in the chain of command. All of it hangs suspended in this single moment. The general's hand moves, rises, forms the crisp edge of a salute. The room detonates. Gasps. Actual audible gasps from multiple personnel. Someone drops a tablet. The clatter echoes like a gunshot in the stunned silence. Hayes' mouth falls open. His eyes go wide. Every certainty he's held for 3 months shatters in the space between heartbeats. Klein leans back like he's been pushed. His chair scrapes against the floor. Brooks's hand freezes halfway to his sidearm, forgot what he was reaching for, forgot why he moved at all. Reese makes a sound, not quite a word, just air escaping, the sound of a man watching his entire world collapse. Commander Ward, the general's voice could cut steel. Each word lands with the weight of absolute authority. Welcome back, ma'am. The other 3 generals snap to attention. The movement is simultaneous, practiced. 3 more salutes, precise, respectful, the kind you give to an equal, the kind that erases any remaining doubt about who this woman really is. Ward returns them. Her posture shifts completely. The change is subtle but total. No longer the contractor trying to stay invisible. No longer the civilian enduring dismissal and contempt. Now she stands like what she is, what she's always been, an officer, a commander. Someone who spent 12 years earning this moment through blood and sacrifice and choices that left scars deeper than any tattoo. General Hartwick. Ward's voice has changed too. Still quiet, but with edges of authority that weren't there before. Or perhaps they were always there, just buried under layers of operational necessity. Thank you for the response time. We've been monitoring since your check-in lapse. When the lockdown was triggered, we mobilized immediately. Hartwick's eyes move to Reese. The temperature in the room drops 20 degrees. Her gaze is the kind that has sent hardened warriors scrambling to correct mistakes. Admiral Conrad Reese, I'm General Patricia Hartwick, Joint Special Operations Command. You're being placed under arrest for violations of the Uniform Code of Military Justice, specifically unauthorized disclosure of classified information, conspiracy to commit espionage, and conduct unbecoming an officer. Reese's voice is hollow, empty. This is based on fabricated evidence. The evidence was compiled by one of our most decorated operators over 3 months of direct observation. One of the other generals steps forward, 2 stars and a chest full of ribbons that tell stories of battles most people will never hear about. Commander Ward has been embedded at this facility since August, monitoring, documenting, building a case that will stand up to any scrutiny, every file access, every transfer, every communication, all of it preserved on systems you didn't know existed. Systems designed specifically to protect evidence from exactly the kind of tampering you're suggesting. Who else is watching this and thinking about how many people overlook the quiet ones? Hit that share button so everyone sees what real justice looks like when it finally arrives. Hayes is staring at Ward like he's seeing her for the first time, which, in a way, he is. The contractor he mocked, the civilian he dismissed, the woman whose competence he questioned at every turn, all of it was real. All of it was her, just not in the way he assumed. You've been JSOC this whole time. Every rumor I spread, every joke, His voice breaks, the weight of his own actions crushing down. Ma'am, I'm so sorry. Later, Lieutenant, right now I need you to finish pulling those logs. We have 34 minutes before backup power fails. General Hartwick needs to see the complete picture, including General Corbin's involvement. The room temperature drops another 10 degrees. Several officers exchange glances. Corbin's name carries weight. A general doesn't just get accused, not without evidence so solid it can't be questioned. Hartwick's expression doesn't change, but something hardens in her eyes. Something cold and absolutely unforgiving. Explain. Hayes pulls up the correlation data. His hands shake slightly, but his fingers are steady on the keyboard. Shows the dual access pattern. Reese and Corbin moving in coordination. The modified intelligence briefing. The Syria convoy route that put Ward in a kill zone. Numbers and timestamps that tell a story of betrayal at the highest levels. General Corbin has been running this operation from the beginning. Ward's voice is clinical now, operational, the tone of someone delivering an after-action report. He's the one who recruited Reese, who provided the contacts at Nexus Strategic Solutions, who made sure internal investigations never got close enough to threaten the network, and when you initiated Sovereign Ghost, when you needed a deceased operator to go deep, he suggested me specifically, put me in position to catch Reese while he stayed protected in the oversight role. Where is Corbin now? Hartwick demands. He left 20 minutes before the protocol activated. Brooks checks his logs. His voice is tight. Very convenient timing. Not convenience. He was warned. Ward looks at Hartwick, meets her eyes directly. Someone in your command structure tipped him. He knew the check-in window, knew when to disappear. Hartwick's jaw tightens, the only visible sign of the fury building beneath that controlled exterior. We'll discuss that later. Right now, we secure Reese. Then we go after Corbin with everything we have. She nods to the MPs. They move in, professional, precise, reading Reese his rights while securing his sidearm, while placing restraints designed to be respectful but absolute, the kind used when arresting senior officers, the kind that say this is official, this is legal, this is happening. As they lead him toward the door, Reese stops, looks back at Ward one last time, searching her face for something, answers maybe, or understanding, or just acknowledgement that he was beaten by someone better. How long have you been planning this? Since Syria. Since I woke up in a field hospital and realized someone had sold my convoy's location. Since I learned that operators don't just die in coincidental IED attacks. She pauses, lets the weight of those words settle. 2 years, Admiral. 2 years being dead. 2 years hunting the people who killed my team, and 3 months watching you prove exactly who you are. They take him out. The door closes. The sound echoes in the suddenly empty space. Ward pulls out her tablet. The real one. Encrypted. Military-grade security that makes commercial systems look like children's toys. Brings up a file she's been building for 3 months. Layer by layer, evidence by evidence. General, the network is bigger than Reese and Corbin. The audit flagged 16 other officers across 6 bases, 4 contractors, and 2 sitting congressmen who took money to facilitate defense contracts. She displays the data, turns the tablet so Hartwick can see. I documented everything. Access patterns, financial transfers, communication intercepts, it's all here, ready for prosecution. Hartwick studies the tablet. Her expression remains granite, but there's something in her eyes, satisfaction maybe, or vindication, or just the grim acceptance that corruption ran deeper than anyone wanted to believe. Commander, I'm going to ask you something. You've been under for 3 months. Deep cover takes a toll. You could step back now, take a desk job, teach at Coronado. Nobody would question it. You've earned the right to rest. With respect, ma'am, I'll step back when everyone who sold intelligence that got operators killed is in prison. Not before. Ward's voice is absolute. No hesitation. No doubt. You sent me in as bait once. It worked. We use Reese's arrest to make Corbin nervous, make him think the investigation stops here, then watch what mistakes he makes trying to cover his tracks. That's a longer operation. Could take months, could take years. I'm aware. I'll do whatever it takes, however long it takes. The third general, who hasn't spoken yet, smiles slightly. There's pride in that expression, and respect. She's got your stubbornness, Patricia. That's what happens when you recruit them this dedicated. Hartwick doesn't disagree. We'll brief you tomorrow on next steps. For tonight, you're officially Commander Ward. Enjoy it while you can. Yes, ma'am. Dismissed. Ward salutes, turns to leave, stops when Garrett steps forward, the old Master Chief who saw through her cover from the beginning. Ma'am, permission to speak? Granted, Master Chief. That tattoo, that grip on the UAV controller, the breathing pattern. I knew something was off but couldn't place it. He comes to full attention, salutes properly, with the kind of precision that comes from decades of service. Should have recognized JSOC training. I went through Bragg myself, back in '98. You served with distinction, Roy. Your record is exemplary, and you could have exposed me several times but chose not to. Thank you for trusting your instincts. Figured if someone went to that much trouble to hide, they had reasons. Good ones. He drops the salute. His voice softens. Welcome home, Commander. Thank you, Master Chief. She leaves, walking through corridors starting to return to normal. The lockdown is lifting, personnel emerging from emergency stations, confusion written on faces, questions being asked, the base beginning to breathe again after hours of lockdown tension. But whispers follow her, story fragments already forming, growing, spreading through the base like wildfire. The contractor who wasn't, the ghost who outranked an admiral, the operator who came back from the dead. By tomorrow, everyone will have heard some version. By next week, the legend will have grown beyond recognition. By 1900, she's back in her temporary quarters. The small concrete room that's been home for 3 months, sits on the metal bed, allows herself 60 seconds of stillness. No performance, no maintained composure, no 4-count breathing or careful positioning, just 60 seconds of being herself, of letting the weight settle, of acknowledging what just happened. Then her tablet chimes. Secure message. She opens it. The message shows consequence cascade implementation, immediate actions against Reese, personal surveillance on Corbin, professional investigation across 12 facilities, institutional reforms throughout JSOC, legacy recognition for the operation. Everything documented, everything official, everything real. She reads it twice. The cascade is real, spreading through the system like antibodies fighting infection. Not perfect, never perfect, but better, measurably better. A second message arrives, different sender, unknown origin. The subject line makes her blood run cold. Tower 4 sends regards. No text, just an attachment. An image file. Grainy. Shows a compound in Syria. Coordinates visible in the corner. Date stamp from 2 years ago. Her convoy route marked in red. The path they took. The kill zone they entered. All of it documented by someone who knew, who watched, who waited. And in the corner, barely visible, a figure watching from a rooftop. Too distant to identify, but holding something. A radio maybe, or a phone. Or a detonator. Someone was there. Someone watched her convoy drive into that kill zone. Someone who coordinated the attack. Someone who's still out there, still operating, still thinking they're safe because they stayed in the shadows. She stares at the image. Doesn't open a reply, just saves it to encrypted storage. Evidence for tomorrow, for the next hunt, for the mission that never really ends. Tomorrow brings new missions. Tonight brings questions. And the knowledge that the network runs deeper than even Hartwick suspects. A knock at the door. She closes the tablet, opens the door. Hayes stands there, still looking shaken, still processing everything he learned today. Ma'am, I came to apologize. I was part of the problem. Everything I did, everything I said, I should have been better. You followed your commanding officer's lead, Lieutenant. That's what junior officers do. It's what you're trained to do. Still, I made assumptions, treated you like you didn't belong. He finally meets her eyes, really meets them. If there's anything I can do to make it right, remember this feeling, this moment when you realized you misjudged someone completely, Next time you meet someone who doesn't fit expectations, look closer instead of dismissing them. Ask questions instead of making assumptions. That's how you make it right. That's how you become better. Yes, ma'am, I will. He salutes. She returns it. He leaves looking slightly less burdened, still carrying weight, but perhaps understanding now that growth comes from acknowledging mistakes rather than defending them. She closes the door, looks at her tablet again. The Tower 4 image is still there, still unexplained, still dangerous. A thread that leads somewhere darker than Reese or Corbin, somewhere she'll need to follow. She opens a reply, types 4 words. Tomorrow, not tonight, sends it. The message disappears into encrypted channels, bouncing through servers, reaching someone, somewhere, someone who knows she's coming. Outside her window, the Hawaiian sunset paints the sky in shades of orange and purple. Beautiful, peaceful. The kind of view that makes people forget wars are being fought, that operators are dying, that corruption thrives in comfortable shadows. Somewhere on this base, Reese sits in a cell contemplating the destruction of everything he built. Somewhere in Washington, analysts are building cases that will take down networks. Somewhere in dark places, people who profited from treason are getting nervous, starting to look over their shoulders, starting to wonder who else might be watching. And somewhere, the person who watched her convoy drive into that ambush is still out there, still operating, still thinking they're safe because they've avoided detection for 2 years. They're wrong. She's patient, she's thorough, and she never stops hunting. She lies down on the metal bed, closes her eyes, breathes in that steady 4-count rhythm one more time, the rhythm that kept her alive in Syria. That kept her focused during 3 months of humiliation. That will carry her through whatever comes next. Tomorrow brings new briefings, new missions, new shadows to hunt, new ghosts to become. But tonight belongs to truth. Incomplete truth, maybe. Partial truth. But truth nonetheless. The kind that says some battles are won even when the war continues. The watch on her wrist displays 2200. In 10 hours she'll receive new orders. In 11 hours she might become someone else again. Another identity, another mission, another version of herself deployed in service of something larger. But for now she's Commander Elise Ward. She served. She won. And the mission continues. The memorial wall at Bragg will list her name with a notation most people won't understand. Return to active service. Classification restricted. The operators who see it will know, will understand, will raise a glass to the ghost who came back, who proved that death is sometimes just another form of deployment. Justice isn't loud, it's patient. It moves in shadows and documentation. It breathes in 4-count rhythms learned under fire. It wears whatever face necessary to get close enough to strike. And it never stops, never rests, never quits until every corruption is burned away, until every operator who died because someone sold intelligence is accounted for, until the system that's supposed to protect warriors is worthy of their sacrifice. They mocked her rank. They forgot she outranked their corruption. The stars wheel overhead. Constellations she learned to navigate by during survival training, fixed points in a universe of variables. Time moves forward, always forward, never back. And Commander Elise Ward closes her eyes and rests. Tomorrow brings new ghosts to hunt. But tonight, truth is enough.
Every soldier carries a story that few ever hear. Listen with your heart. Thank you for staying and watching. Subscribe to MVB Story for more.